So Conan's new Yamatai Towers building set has been out for a while now. I've made some builds, reviewed it, and now it's only right that I give you some tips you can use with this set to improve your own designs. If you thought this bundle was already impressive, these tricks will only make it better. So without further ado, let's get started. Firstly, one of the most glaring omissions in this set are the inverted corner awnings. This set is not intended to have them, but you can still make your own, so here's how you do it. Firstly, let's take this setup, probably the most common spot where you'd need a corner awning. The first way to create one is by using the corner pieces. Face them away from the rest of the awnings as if they were about to turn a corner, then in the empty central spot, place an awning facing directly out. This creates kind of a swooping 3-point curve that generally looks quite good and works really well. This setup next is probably the second most common spot where you'd need a corner awning and has a slightly different method. You can resolve this by building the awnings like so, and then adding a corner piece again in the empty slot with the grain of the piece running with the adjacent corner. This solution is not too bad, a little less stylish than the previous one, but more than functional. Though the Yamatai Towers set wasn't designed to have inverted corner awnings, these two solutions are pretty good for making the awning pieces more flexible and applicable to plenty more designs. Up next, a couple of tricks with the new sliding doors. Firstly, you can create a small interior half-tile fence by placing an interior-facing balcony next to a sliding door. If you orient it correctly, this lines up perfectly with the half-tile door slot on the door frame itself, allowing you to use a small fenced area for statues, planters, tables, etc. This is a very minor thing, but it is good for detailed decoration. Secondly, the sliding door frames are actually perfect for making double doors. Aside from the door slot, the design is uniform on all sides, so you can place one next to another to create a double door gap, which you can either leave open for a passageway between rooms, or you can put doors within. Both of these tips are small but useful tricks to know for the sliding doors and make them a lot more flexible. Next, let's tackle some lighting. Beams and rafters are some of the unique items in this set and are one of the highlights when it comes to lighting your builds. The rafters are pretty simple. They have quite a bulky structure and the central beam is easily used to hang lighting from. It almost feels intentional. They're just perfectly placed for lamps, braziers, etc. and are a much more immersive way to integrate light into the interior of a build without just having lamps hanging directly from the ceiling. The new beam pieces are much thinner than the rafters, but are also incredibly useful for mounting lighting. They have pretty accurate collision models, and that little wooden section jutting out underneath the beam has enough space from which to hang a brazier or a lamp, making these pretty nice options for lighting, especially exterior lighting in tight spaces like alleyways. Also, if you're enjoying the video thus far, do leave a like, it always helps out. Next up, the tower gates. These pieces are difficult to use given how thick they are, but if you want to build a tower like is shown in the Yamatai Tower bundle preview, this is how you do it. Build fence foundations in this fashion, and then add foundations to the interior and at least one ring of foundations on the exterior. Place the gate frames on the long sides so the beams at each end are almost touching. Add a layer of walls atop the gates and then a pillar in the centre and ceilings on the top. Add vaulted ceiling brackets around the exterior to give you a little more floor space. Add a staircase up the centre wrapping around the pillar for support, and then you can build away. It's a bit fiddly at first, but I like this style a lot, and you can add a lot of extra pieces for more flair like rafters beneath the ceilings, balconies, awnings and so much more. The gate frames were a bit of a nightmare for me at first, but in this setting they are very nice. Finally, let's look at the Yamatai arch pieces. These are pretty great and useful for a whole bunch of things. Firstly, you can use them for the real windows trick by placing a fence inside them and then replacing the arch with a doorway. Secondly, you can take this a step further by adding a Yamatai Tower door inside the door frame, which creates a really nice two-textured wall look that I am a big fan of. Thirdly, you can use them to add wall trims with crenellated walls or fences by adding said fence or crenellation and then replacing the arch with a wall of your choice. I particularly like using regular Yamatai crenellations with the new tower frames. The frames themselves end up, well, framed quite nicely. Finally, one of my favourite uses is to frame freestanding staircases. You can attach fences to each layer of the arches, which helps to add a little more structure, but in general I just think this technique looks quite good for some staircase designs, and especially so if you were trying to build a small watchtower. The arches are a very flexible way to introduce more advanced architectural tricks into your buildings. These used to only be possible with the stable pieces, but seeing as the Turanian extension, Aesir, and now the Yamatai extension has these pieces, it's a wonderful quality of life feature to have. And there we have it, some useful tips you can use with the new Yamatai Towers extension. I've covered this bundle pretty extensively now, and it's definitely up there with some of the best building sets the devs have released. It's beautifully designed and has just a ton of uses, and can also be integrated with a couple of other sets like Khitan to elevate them too. If you guys have your own tips, do share them in the comments below. Hopefully you found my tips useful. The set has a ton of potential, but with these tricks you can just unlock even more. Thank you for watching, and of course a massive thanks to our wonderful esteemed coffee cultists for continuing to support the channel over on Patreon. Make sure you subscribe for more Conan guides, news, reviews, builds, lore videos and more. Take care, and I'll see you soon.